What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping in with the weekly reset for Destiny 2, coming up on the 22nd of July. Of course, Edge of Fate dropped last week, and you may be wondering what the hell is going on. Well, you're not alone, I can promise you that. In the weekly reset right here, we'll cover some content and updates that we know are coming to Destiny 2 this week. We'll also speak about changes that actually affect the weekly reset content and the rotations in the game. Of course, a lot of stuff has been changed going into this update, so I'll be completely honest, there are a few unknowns in the mix, but we also have a few answers too. So we'll cover some of the content which is going to refresh on Kepler, as well as additional world content, changes for the raid, and new additions for things like the portal, which Bungie have confirmed this week. Being that we're in a new season as well, we also have a refresh for seasonal challenges and rewards. And on top of that, Bungie have outlined a series of patch changes that they're hoping to land in the coming weeks, with some dropping this Tuesday. So don't worry, there's about an 80% chance that I won't be swearing at anyone in this video, although it is a promise that I'm not willing to make. So let's get into it. And initially right here on Kepler, firstly, it's worth saying it's possible some things could be added, we're not really sure. In past expansions, we've had little things pop up here and there. One thing we know will be things like the featured missions on Kepler, so there are some that have additional challenges. As we can see, I've got some to wrap up before we get to Tuesday. These do drop powerful gear, or gear that affects our power, whatever it's called. And the quality of rewards here will actually be affected by the world tier that we're on, so that's the first thing that we can expect to refresh. Also, I'm curious to see whether we might see changes in the sieve activity. Plus, here at the Altar of Relativity, keep in mind that if we've got the correct challenges completed, it will be possible to reactivate mysteries in particular areas of Kepler, and that essentially allows us to farm chests again, as well as secrets, which will drop powerful and tiered rewards all over again. At power level 200, we can run up to the highest difficulty content on Kepler, which is Mythic, and that will unlock tier 3 gear. And we'll eventually be able to get tier 4 gear by reaching power level 350, then tier 5 gear by reaching power level 450, as it unlocks bonuses on the vendor right here. So still a bit to figure out, but we're getting there. And yes, before you tell me, I think it's ridiculous that gear tiers are tied to power level. More on that in a separate video. Alongside Kepler though, there is of course the seasonal component where we have the seasonal hub, so we'll get this weekly rank once again, that will reset, and that's going to enable us to earn rewards similar to what we got in the first week on the track that we can see right here. So that's the first thing to look out for. There'll also be certain weekly challenges which will actually be featured in here, and of course the daily challenges, which have bonuses to things like the portal, so they're worth paying attention to if you are looking for power. But for seasonal challenges specifically, this week coming we'll have Solo Datapad Search Part 2 to find all datapads in the Solo Ops activities. There's also Vanguard Datapad Investigation Part 2 to find all datapads in the Fireteam Ops activities. Looks like this week that will include Proving Grounds, Liminality, Battleground Oracle, and Battleground Foothold. Then there's Datapad Discovery Part 2 to find all datapads in the Fireteam Ops activities, and Pinnacle Datapad Retrieval Part 2 to find all datapads in Pinnacle Ops activities. That was a mouthful. So if you really like holding X or E or F or whatever, you're going to be in luck this week. Otherwise, we have Growing Power to acquire any of the season's exotic weapons, as well as Last Rites to deal ability final blows in portal activities, and we get bonus progress by dealing final blows to opposing guardians. Otherwise, Expedited Violence to rapidly defeat targets in portal activities. There's bonus progress there for dealing final blows to guardians again, and Teacher's Pet to receive a performance grade of B or higher in Crucible Ops. Finally though, there is Metamaster, and this week it'll require us to defeat targets with auto rifles, bows, sidearms, scouts, shotguns, or swords, and there's bonus progress again for Guardian kills in PvP. So if you're looking for XP, those are certainly going to be useful this week. And if you manage to complete the Desert Perpetual raid over this weekend, whether it's normal or contest, keep in mind there will be a refresh for the weekly reset, so that'll mean new chances for legendary loot, as well as the exotic weapon, which is the Whirling Ovation. So if you do jump in after reset, or any time for that matter, then I wish you the best of luck. We do have some specifics on how content will change in the portal this week though. Firstly, worth mentioning for Crucible, trials won't actually return until after next week's reset, so we won't get it this weekend. And additionally, Bungie had said the Crucible's Cutting Edge playlist will hopefully be landing this Tuesday, July 22nd. I think Cutting Edge actually requires us to use new gear, so it's only stuff basically that looks like this with the blue icon on the side. So that'll be an interesting one if you want to dive into it. And in the Fireteam Ops category this week, Bungie have said that Onslaught on Midtown and Widow's Court will arrive in Fireteam Ops this week. So that'll make things a bit more interesting, I suppose, if you're hunting for power. Keep in mind, of course, we get these bonus drops as well as completion rewards, so anything that looks like it gets more loot, like this, or these ones right here, or indeed over here in Pinnacle Ops, where we tend to get much juicier stuff. Look at that, 2 bonus drops and 3 completion rewards. Similar thing for the Whisper mission. Basically, that's what you want to look out for if you are after power. Also in Fire Team Ups this week, Bungie indicated that Expert difficulty Fire Team Ups will open, and presumably that means they're going to drop more powerful rewards than they do right now. They'll also require a higher power level, I'm sure. But for the portal in general this week, Bungie have said there'll be a booster week called Special Surge, and basically it buffs special ammo drops in all PvE activities in the portal. So whatever it is, whether it's solo or Pinnacle Ops, it should make life a bit easier. In terms of gaining seasonal power though, I've got some catching up to do, safe to say, but Bungie have said there are no longer weekly limits on how much progress we can earn, so the power climb allows us to farm and farm and farm away if that's what we want to do. Another thing for this week, Bungie have outlined that we'll get another patch, so what they're hopefully going to be fixing includes incorrect ammo gains on area denial grenade launchers, rocket sidearms, and rocket launchers. They're also hoping to have additional fixes for Kepler-related soft locks and crashes, and a fix for the 3rd iteration scout rifle, which is doing more damage than intended with certain seasonal mods. I will, however, keep you posted with full patch notes when we get them. Away from the portal though, this grayed out map right here, which Bungie have said they are going to fix and return it to its less grayed out glory, I suppose, at some point, but featured world rotations like raids, dungeons, even exotic missions are no longer a thing as far as we understand it, so we can play these anytime for chances at exotics, whatever it is. So if you have a bit of catching up to do on that front, it will be useful. Finalities Augur from Sundered Doctrine, for example, you'll have to try your luck via the Worlds tab. There are some things that we're not entirely clear on with that yet, so if you guys can bear with me a little bit, I'll have more clarity next week as we see how these rotations pan out over time. Another thing I can't be 100% clear about at the moment, but it does appear that we have an expert lost sector featured on every destination on a daily basis now. It does list exotic engrams still being possible to earn, and legendary weapons. I am not sure what the quality of those rewards actually are in terms of how new they are. Of course, we won't get new Edge of Fate exotics until we've already unlocked them from exotic engrams. One rotation which I believe will stay intact in terms of older destinations will be the Ascendant Challenges though. I've considered not covering these in as much detail a few times, but there are folks who, I'm not sure whether it's just sort of a ritual, bit of nostalgia, there are folks who want me to keep covering them. So Sumerian Garrison in the Chamber of Starlight in Rea Silvia is set to actually be the Ascendant Challenge this week, which at the moment is also an expert lost sector. So if you want the location for that one, we'll run it at the end of the video. For the moment though, guys, that's what I can tell you about Weekly Reset this week. So I'm going to have a video outlining some feedback regarding Edge of Fate, hopefully in the next couple of days as well. I'm not glossing over any of the issues the community has. I'm just trying to provide info on the actual Weekly Reset as we know it right here. So you can stay tuned for that if you want to. But otherwise, thank you for tuning in. And whatever you get up to, I hope you guys have an awesome day.